I was stationed on a fox colony now. Mother and daughter compete for my Dianatha. Transport ship cut through the thin blue clouds of Virex 9 as it descended toward the surface. From the viewing window, the planet looked calm, almost gentle. Wide silver plains stretched between clusters of amber forests. Rivers curved like drawn lines across the land. Nothing about it suggested danger, war, or destiny. To the United Earth Command, this was just another Allied colony. Lieutenant Aaron Hale stood silently, hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the world below. He had trained for hostile deployments, pirate zones, and first contact war scenarios. A fox colony had never crossed his mind. The Virex were classified as semi-mammalian sapients. Fox-like in appearance, but taller than humans, with lean frames, digitigrade legs, and intelligent amber eyes. Their fur changed shades depending on climate and mood. Diplomats described them as clever, cautious, and obsessed with lineage. Soldiers described them as harmless. Aaron had been sent as a liaison officer, not a fighter. His mission profile was simple: observe, assist with logistics, maintain human presence, and report anything unusual. No weapons heavier than a sidearm, no combat team, no urgency. That alone should have warned him. When the ship landed, the welcoming party was already waiting. Dozens of Virex stood in organized rows, tails low, posture formal. At their center stood a tall female with silver-white fur and a dark ceremonial mantle draped over her shoulders. Her eyes were sharp, ancient, and calm. "This is Mother Sorella," the translator whispered through Aaron's implant. "Matriarch of the Western Gene clans." Aaron stepped forward and offered a respectful nod. "Lieutenant Aaron Hale, United Earth Command. Thank you for receiving me." Sorella studied him for several long seconds. Her gaze did not wander to his uniform or insignia. It locked on his face, his posture, his breathing. The moment felt less like a greeting and more like an examination. "You are welcome among us, human," she finally said. Her voice was smooth, layered with subtle harmonics. "Your presence has already been discussed." That was unusual. Aaron had not expected his arrival to matter. He followed the delegation into the colony's inner district. Structures rose from the ground like carved stone mixed with organic curves. Nothing was wasted. Every path, every wall, every light source served a purpose. The Virex valued efficiency and order, but there was beauty in it too. As days passed, Aaron noticed small things that did not appear in the official briefings. The Virex watched humans differently than other species. Scientists asked unusual questions during routine meetings. Questions about human lifespan variation, about genetic resilience to radiation, disease, and psychological stress, about why humans continued reproducing naturally even after mastering artificial genome correction. At first, Aaron assumed it was scientific curiosity. Then he was invited to the archive hall. The archive hall was restricted territory. Even many Virex were not allowed inside. The request came directly from Mother Sorella. Declining was not diplomatically possible. Inside, holographic strands of light filled the chamber, twisting and branching like glowing trees. Genetic records. Thousands of years of lineage data. Every birth, every death, every mutation carefully recorded. Sorella stood beside a projection showing a slow decline curve. "Our species is stable," she said calmly, "but stability can become decay." Aaron studied the data. Birth rates were steady. Mortality low. Disease minimal. Everything looked fine. "You don't look fine," he said carefully. Sorella's tail flicked once. "Perceptive. Our genome has reached optimization. We have removed weakness, variance, chaos, and in doing so, we have trapped ourselves." She turned the projection. A new strand appeared. Human DNA. Aaron felt a chill. "Why is my species here?" "Because you are inefficient," Sorella replied without insult. "Unpredictable, emotion-driven, adaptable beyond reason. Your genetics evolve under pressure instead of avoiding it." Aaron swallowed. "That hasn't always been a good thing." "But you survived," she said. "Against your own mistakes?" against worlds that tried to kill you, against extinction more than once. She looked directly at him. Our analysts discovered that even a theoretical integration of human genetic patterns restores adaptability we lost. Aaron felt the weight of the words. You're saying? My DNA is useful. It's not just yours, Sorella said. But you were the first sample physically present. The room felt smaller. I need to be clear, Aaron said slowly. Human law forbids unauthorized genetic use, and I don't speak for my species. Sorella inclined her head. We know. That is why this is not a demand. She gestured, and another figure stepped into the light. She was younger. Her fur was a deep rust gold, her eyes bright with curiosity rather than age. Her posture lacked the rigid restraint of the elders. My daughter, Sorella said. Heir to the colony. Soraya. Soraya looked at Aaron not like a specimen, but like a possibility. We do not all agree on how humanity should be involved, Soraya said openly. My mother believes in preservation, controlled study, limited adaptation. Sorella did not deny it. Syrah's tail lifted slightly. I believe survival demands transformation. Aaron felt suddenly like a piece on a board he could not see. Lieutenant Hale, Soraya continued, your people did not become strong by staying the same. You allowed difference, risk, change. Chaos, Sorella added. Yes, Soraya said. And you endured. The silence that followed was heavy. Aaron realized then that this was not a scientific meeting. It was political. He was escorted back to his quarters under discreet guard. Not confinement. Protection. At least that was what the report said. Messages from Earth were delayed under routine signal traffic management. That night, Aaron stared at the ceiling of his assigned dwelling, mind racing. Humanity had always known it was adaptable, but to hear another species see that trait as salvation was unsettling. Outside, the colony continued its quiet order. No alarms, no protests. But under the surface, something was moving. Across the settlement, debates spread through council chambers and clan halls. The mother's supporters argued caution. Study humans, yes, but remain Virex. The daughter's faction argued urgency. Evolution did not wait for comfort, and at the center of it all was one human officer who had never volunteered to matter. When Aaron finally received a delayed message from Earth, it was short and unsettling. Maintain neutrality. Do not commit to genetic agreements. Observe only. It did not offer guidance for what to do when 2 generations of an alien species quietly began competing over humanity's future. As dawn broke over Virex 9, Aaron stepped outside and watched the Fox people move through their routines. He could feel their eyes on him, not hostile, not greedy, but measuring. For the first time since leaving Earth, Aaron understood something deeply uncomfortable. Humanity was no longer just exploring the galaxy. The galaxy was studying humanity. And Virex 9 was only the beginning. Morning on Virex 9 arrived without a sunburst. The light came slowly, spreading across the plains like a careful decision. Aaron Hale stood near the window of his assigned quarters, watching the Fox people begin their daily routines. They moved with purpose, calm and orderly, as if nothing unusual was happening, yet Aaron could feel it. Something had changed. When he stepped outside, conversation stopped for a fraction of a second. Virex workers lowered their heads politely, but their eyes followed him longer than before. Not with fear. Not with respect either. It was something closer to calculation. He walked toward the Central Operations Building, where he usually assisted with supply coordination and colony reports. Halfway there, a pair of Virex guards adjusted their positions to walk a few steps behind him. They did not block his path. They did not speak. Their presence was quiet but firm. Escort, not arrest. Inside the building, Aaron noticed more signs. Scientists whispered more than usual. Data terminals were angled away from him. A meeting he was scheduled to attend had been postponed without explanation. At midday, a formal request arrived. Mother Sorella wished to speak with him again. The chamber this time was smaller, more private. The glowing genetic displays were absent. Instead, the room held a circular table made of smooth, dark material. Only 2 chairs waited, one size for a Verix, one for a human. Sorella entered alone. "You have considered our discussion," she said. "Sitting with perfect posture, I've considered that I may not be qualified to have it," Aaron replied honestly. "I'm not a geneticist or a diplomat. You are human," Sorella said. "That is qualification enough." She placed a small device on the table. It projected a 3-dimensional model of a VRX genome beside a human one. Points of overlap glowed faintly. "Our request remains unchanged," she continued. "Voluntary, genomic contribution, non-reproductive. No alteration of your body. No loss of autonomy." Aaron frowned. "That sounds carefully prepared." "It is," Sorella said, "because the consequences of refusal are also significant." That caught his attention. "For you?" "For us," she said. "And eventually, for you," she explained calmly. The Varix genetic stagnation had reached a threshold. Within 2 centuries, adaptability loss would accelerate. Environmental shifts, cosmic radiation changes, even minor pathogens could begin causing cascading failures. They were not facing extinction tomorrow, but survival was no longer guaranteed. And human DNA fixes this, Aaron said. "Human genetic patterns introduce variability without collapse," Sorella replied. "Your species survives by bending instead of resisting." Aaron leaned back. "You're asking humanity to become part of your survival strategy." "We are asking for cooperation," she corrected. "We are not asking for ownership." Before Aaron could respond, the door opened. Soraya stepped inside. She did not wait for permission. "My mother is being cautious again," Soraya said, her tone respectful but firm. "Caution has cost us decades already." Sorella's ears tilted slightly backward. "And recklessness has destroyed civilizations." Soraya turned to Aaron. "Lieutenant Hale, may I speak freely?" Aaron glanced at Sorella. The matriarch gave a slow nod. Soraya stepped closer, her eyes bright. "Humanity did not rise because it protected purity. You embraced difference, mixed cultures, mixed ideas, mixed genes. You survived because you allowed change to reshape you," Sorella responded calmly. "And humans paid for that with wars, extinctions, and suffering." "Yes," Soraya said, "and they still stand." The silence grew heavy. Soraya lowered her voice. "Mother wants to study you. I want to work with you. Not as a sample, but as a partner." Aaron felt the pressure increase. "I don't get to make these decisions." "You do," Soraya said. "Because without consent, human DNA loses what makes it valuable. Choice." That word echoed in Aaron's mind. The meeting ended without resolution. Sorella requested time. Soraya offered nothing but a look that promised the issue was far from settled. As Aaron left, he realized the guards were still there. That afternoon, Earth finally responded again. The message was longer this time, encrypted and direct. "Lieutenant Hale? Situation upgraded to class sensitive. Human genetic data classified as protected strategic asset. Do not provide samples. Do not agree to testing without direct authorization. Maintain cooperative posture. Avoid escalation." Aaron let out a slow breath. Human DNA. Strategic asset. He wondered how many people on Earth truly understood what that meant. The colony did not slow down. If anything, activity increased. Research labs worked late into the night. Council chambers filled with debate. Clan representatives arrived from distant regions of the planet. Aaron overheard fragments as he moved through public spaces. Human instability could destabilize us, but stagnation is death. The daughter risks everything. The mother risks nothing. And always. The same word repeated in different tones. Human. That evening, Soraya approached him outside the habitation sector. This time, there were no guards. No formality. "I hope you don't mind," she said. "I asked them not to follow." Aaron studied her carefully. "You're taking a risk." "Yes," she agreed. "So are you, by being here." They walked along a raised platform overlooking the colony. Lights glowed softly below, highlighting ordered streets and communal spaces. My people believe survival is a formula, Soraya said. Balance inputs. Remove errors. Predict outcomes. And you disagree? Aaron said. I believe survival is a story, she replied. One written by choices made under pressure. She stopped walking. Humanity survives because you accept uncertainty. Aaron looked out over the colony. Uncertainty has cost us billions of lives. And yet, Soraya said gently, you are still here. Her words were not admiration. They were observation. I won't be used as leverage between you and your mother, Aaron said. You already are, she replied softly. That night, the first real sign of crisis appeared. A Virex research station on the edge of the colony reported a containment failure. A controlled genetic simulation had destabilized. Adaptive systems designed to correct mutations failed to respond. Within hours, the incident was contained. No deaths, no public alarm. But the data spread through internal networks. The system had failed because it could not adapt fast enough. Aaron was summoned again, this time to a joint council session. Representatives from multiple clans were present. Sorella stood at the center. Soraya at her side. The incident confirms our projections, Soraya said openly. We cannot wait. Sorella did not contradict her. Instead, she looked at Aaron. Human Lieutenant, she said, your presence alone has already shifted our trajectory. Whether you choose to act or not, your species has changed us. Ah. Aaron felt the weight of every eye in the chamber. I will not authorize anything, he said clearly, but I will report truthfully to Earth. Whatever happens next will be a decision between our peoples, not behind closed doors. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Soraya's eyes widened slightly. Sorella's tail stilled. Transparency. A human instinct. The meeting ended without argument. Later, as Aaron returned to his quarters, he realized something important. No one had tried to force him. Not because they couldn't, but because they understood that without human choice, human DNA meant nothing. Across the colony, mother and daughter prepared their next moves. One focused on control, the other on change. And far away, Earth began to understand that humanity's greatest export was not technology, weapons, or ships. It was adaptability. And the galaxy was starting to want it. The days that followed felt heavier, as if the air itself had learned how to wait. Varix 9 did not fall into chaos, but its perfect order began to show small cracks. Meetings grew longer. Decisions took more time. Even the calm rhythm of the colony felt strained. Like a system running at its limits, Aaron Hale noticed the change everywhere. Supply requests that once took hours now took days. Research teams submitted revised proposals again and again, each version more cautious or more ambitious depending on which faction had reviewed it. Mother Sorella's supporters spoke of patience and safety. Soraya's supporters spoke of urgency and survival. And always, both sides spoke about humans. Aaron remained officially neutral, but neutrality did not make him invisible. Wherever he went, people watched him with quiet intensity. Not because he carried power, but because he represented possibility. One morning, he was called to the Eastern Observation Platform. A Virex environmental team had requested a human presence. The request itself was strange. Humans rarely assisted with Virex ecological work. The platform overlooked a wide valley where controlled ecosystems had been maintained for generations. Artificial weather patterns, managed predators, regulated plant growth. A perfect balance, or so it had seemed. Below, patches of vegetation showed discoloration. Some plants had grown too fast, others had failed completely. Small prey animals moved erratically, their instincts no longer matching the environment. This region was stable for over 300 cycles, a Virex biologist explained, her voice tight. No external changes. No contamination. Aaron knelt and examined a sample container. But something changed. She said. Us. She hesitated, then added, our systems corrected too slowly. They assumed the old patterns would return. Aaron straightened. And they didn't. The biologist's ears lowered. No, the incident was minor. Easily fixable? But to the Vorex, it was a warning. Their systems were built to preserve, not to react. Word of the imbalance spread quickly through the colony. Soraya's faction gained support. Not loud support. Quiet agreement. That afternoon, Soraya requested another meeting with Aaron. This time it was not private. Several younger council members were present, along with technical advisors. "We are not asking for your DNA," Soraya said immediately. "Not yet." Aaron appreciated the honesty. "Then what are you asking?" "Your experience," she replied. "Your history." Activated a display showing human settlement timelines. Colonies lost. Colonies rebuilt. Worlds abandoned and returned 2 centuries later. "Humans fail often," she said. "But you record those failures. You adapt culture, not just biology." One of the advisors spoke. "Our species avoids failure. We correct before it happens. And when correction fails." Aaron asked. Silence followed. Soraya met his eyes. "Then we do not know how to respond." The meeting lasted hours. They did not discuss genetics directly. Instead, they discussed human decision-making under uncertainty. Why humans allowed conflicting ideas to exist. Why humans tolerated inefficiency in exchange for flexibility. When Aaron returned to his quarters, he sent a long report to Earth. Not just data, but context. He explained the growing divide. The environmental warning signs. The difference between Sorella's control and Soraya's change. Earth responded faster than before. Assessment received. Situation escalating. Advisory team preparing. Maintain position. Advisory team meant politics. The next sign of trouble came from outside the colony. Long-range sensors detected an unfamiliar vessel at the edge of the system. It did not transmit hostile signals. It did not request docking rights. It simply waited. The species was known. The Cathari Collective. Genetic traders. Opportunists. They specialized in acquiring biological advantages through negotiation or pressure. Aaron felt cold when he saw the report. The Varex Council convened immediately. No one elder said. They always know. Sorella stood calm but alert. They will offer assistance and demand access, Soraya replied sharply. The Cathari sent a formal message hours later. Polite, respectful, interested in cooperative research. Interested in human genetic adaptability, they learned about humans from us, the council member said. No, Soraya corrected. They learned that humans are valuable. The council turned toward Aaron. I did not share classified data, he said firmly. We do not accuse you, Sorella said. But your presence changed the equation. The Cathari vessel moved closer over the next day. Still no threat. Still no weapons powering up. Pressure without force. Sorella proposed immediate isolation. Cut communication. Seal research facilities. Preserve internal stability. Soraya opposed it. Isolation makes us predictable. Predictable makes us weak. The council split evenly. Aaron watched the debate unfold and realized something important. This was no longer about human DNA alone. It was about how the Varex would face the galaxy. That night, a small group of Varex approached Aaron discreetly. Scientists, engineers, younger clan leaders. We want to learn, one of them said. Not from your blood. From your methods. They asked about human redundancy systems. About allowing overlap and failure. About decentralized decision-making. Aaron shared what he could. He did not exaggerate humanity's success. He spoke honestly about mistakes, disasters, and recovery. The group listened carefully. The next day, another incident occurred. A transport drone malfunctioned during a supply run. The automated correction protocol failed. Instead of rerouting, the drone shut down. No injuries. But the delay affected multiple systems. Sorella saw it as proof that caution was needed. Soraya saw it as proof that time was running out. The Cathari vessel transmitted again. This time, They addressed Aaron directly. Human representative. We request dialogue. Shared genetic solutions benefit all. Aaron forwarded the message to Earth and the Varex Council without response. Earth's advisory team arrived sooner than expected. 3 diplomats, 2 scientists, 1 security officer. They listened to Aaron's reports and the Varex explanations. Their conclusion was clear. Human genetics were now a galactic interest. Any decision made here would echo far beyond Varex 9 during the final council session of the week. Mother and daughter stood side by side. For the first time, there was no argument between them. Our paths differ, Sorella said, but our danger is the same. Soraya nodded. Others will try to decide for us. Sorella turned to Aaron. Human lieutenant, your species values choice. Then help us preserve ours. Aaron understood what she meant. If the Varex did not decide soon, someone else would. That evening, as the colony lights dimmed, Aaron stood alone on the observation platform again. The Cathari ship glimmered faintly in orbit, patient and watching. Behind him, a civilization debated its future. Ahead of him, a galaxy waited to see what humans would represent. Not conquerors, not saviors, but catalysts. And for the first time, Aaron wondered whether humanity was ready for the role it had been given. The first alert came. Just before dawn, Aaron Hale was already awake. Sleep had become shallow over the past few days, broken by the feeling that something was about to move. When the soft chime echoed through his quarters, he did not rush. He stood slowly, steadying himself, then activated the wall display. Multiple system notifications scrolled past. Orbital traffic change. External vessel course adjustment. Priority council request. The Cathari ship was moving, not closer to the colony. Not farther away, it was repositioning itself between Varex 9 and the primary hyperspace exit. A quiet blockade. Aaron exhaled slowly and dressed. By the time he stepped outside, the colony was already awake. Varex officials moved with controlled urgency, their calm strained but unbroken. No alarm sounded, no panic spread. To an outsider, it still looked peaceful, but peace built on pressure does not last. The council chamber filled quickly. Mother Sorella stood at the center, her posture straight, her expression unreadable. Soraya stood beside her, eyes sharp and focused. Human diplomats from Earth sat along the outer curve, silent and observant. Aaron took his place behind them. The Cathari have chosen escalation without aggression, Sorella said. They restrict movement without declaring hostility. They want us to negotiate from fear, Soraya replied. They want time, one elder added. Time favors preparation. Idea. Shook her head. Time favors those who adapt fastest. That is not us anymore. The room fell quiet. One of the human scientists leaned forward. If they gain access to human genetic frameworks through you, she said carefully, they could replicate adaptability without consent. That would destabilize multiple regions and invite intervention, the security officer added. Aaron knew what that meant. War is justified as protection. Sorella folded her hands. We will not become the reason your species fights again. The words carried weight. Sorella had studied human history closely. Soraya stepped forward. Then we choose openly, now, before others choose for us. She turned toward the council. Mother's path preserves who we are. My path ensures we survive what is coming. They are not enemies. They must become one decision. All eyes turned to Sorella. For a long moment, the matriarch said nothing. Then her tail lowered slightly, a sign of reflection. Our greatest error, she said slowly, was believing perfection was safety. She looked at the data displays surrounding the chamber. Ecosystem failures. System delays. Predictive models losing accuracy. We removed uncertainty, she continued, and in doing so, removed growth. She turned toward Soraya. You were right about one thing. We cannot wait. Soraya's ears lifted, but she did not smile. Sorella then looked at the humans. And you were right about another. Choice must remain human. Aaron felt a quiet tension ease in his chest. The decision that followed surprised everyone. Sorella proposed a declaration, not of alliance, not of genetic sharing, transparency. All research related to human adaptability conducted on VRX-9 will be suspended, she announced. All data will be sealed. No transfer to external parties, including ourselves. A murmur spread through the chamber. Soraya continued, in its place, we will begin cultural and systemic exchange. Decision modeling, redundant governance, adaptive response training, human methods without human DNA. The human diplomats exchanged glances. This denies the Cathari what they want. One whispered, and shows them something more dangerous. Another replied, unity. The council voted. The decision passed by a narrow margin. Within hours, the declaration was transmitted openly. To Earth, to neighboring systems. And to the Cathari collective, the response was immediate. The Cathari vessel powered its communication, raced to maximum output. A request for urgent dialogue followed, stripped of pleasantries. Denied instead. A joint statement from Earth and VRX-9 followed. Human adaptability was not a resource to be harvested. Not a commodity. Not a weapon. It was a product of choice, history, and failure. And it could not be taken without becoming something else entirely. The Cathari did not like that answer. Their vessel shifted again. Weapons still cold, but systems clearly active. Earth's security officer stiffened. If they attempt a forced extraction, they won't, Aaron said quietly. Everyone looked at him. They study genetics, he continued, not war. If they push, they invite a response they can't predict. Sierra nodded. Uncertainty frightens them. The standoff lasted 2 days, 2 days of tense calm, of simulations running through the night, of VRX officials learning to make decisions without perfect data, of human advisors guiding, not leading. Aaron watched something remarkable happen. The VRX began to disagree openly, not in anger, not in chaos, but in structured debate. Proposals were challenged, assumptions questioned, contingencies created instead of avoided. The system strained, but it did not break. On the 3rd day, the Cathari vessel withdrew. No explanation, no farewell, just absence. The relief across the colony was quiet but deep. That evening, Sorella requested a private meeting with Aaron and Soraya. The room was simple. No displays. No guards. You did not give us your blood, Sorella said to Aaron, but you gave us something harder to accept. Uncertainty, Aaron replied. She inclined her head. And responsibility. Soraya crossed her arms. The galaxy will not stop watching us. No, Aaron agreed. It won't. Sorella looked between them. But now, they will see a species that chooses its future instead of protecting its past. She paused. And a human who refused to become a prize. Aaron felt the weight of the moment. I didn't do this alone. You did what humans do best, Soraya said softly. You let us fail safely. The days that followed were the hardest the colony had faced in centuries. Systems had to be redesigned to allow flexibility. Councils learned to accept delayed perfection in exchange for faster response. Younger VRX took leadership roles. Older ones learned to step back. Mistakes happened. Small failures became lessons instead of shame. Aaron's role slowly shifted. From central figure to advisor, from symbol to participant. Earth's advisory team prepared to leave, satisfied that escalation had been avoided. Before departure, one diplomat spoke quietly to Aaron. You changed the board, she said. Without moving a piece, but they were ready. They just needed permission to stop being perfect. As the transport ship lifted days later, Aaron stood at the colony's edge one last time. Sorella and Soraya watched from below. He realized something then. The competition for his DNA had never truly been about him. It had been about what humanity represented. Not strength, not dominance, but the courage to live without guarantees. And as VRX-9 adjusted its path among the stars, that lesson would spread farther than any gene ever could. The stars looked different on the final night. Aaron Hale stood on the landing platform as the transport ship prepared for departure. Engines hummed softly, controlled and patient. Like everything else on Varex 9, the colony below glowed with steady lights, but the rhythm had changed. It was no longer perfectly uniform. Some areas shone brighter, others dimmer, adjusting as needed instead of following a single pattern. It was imperfect and alive. Sorella and Soraya approached together, not as ruler and heir, but as partners. The space between them was smaller now, filled with shared decisions instead of silent tension. "You were leaving earlier than expected," Sorella said. "Earth wants a full debrief," Aaron replied. "And my presence here isn't needed the way it was." Soraya tilted her head. "You say that, but your influence will remain." Aaron gave a small smile. "Influence fades. Systems last." "That depends on how they are built," she said. For a moment, none of them spoke. The quiet was comfortable. Over the past weeks, the Varex colony had changed in ways that could not be undone. Councils operated differently. Younger members challenged old assumptions without fear. Automated systems were redesigned to allow human-style overrides. Not to replace logic, but to question it when needed. The first major test came without warning. A sudden stellar radiation surge swept through the system, stronger than any predicted model had allowed. Old VRX systems would have locked down, freezing operations to preserve stability. The new ones did not. Instead, decentralized teams responded independently. Some shut down sectors. Others rerouted power creatively. Human-inspired redundancy prevented cascade failures. Damage occurred, but the colony survived. More importantly, it learned. News of the event spread fast through neighboring systems. Analysts noticed the change. The Varex had not avoided failure. They had adapted to it. Across known space, discussions shifted. Species that had once sought human DNA now began requesting human advisors instead. Not samples, stories, systems, methods. Human adaptability was no longer seen as something inside the body. It was something built into how humans lived. Back on Earth, Aaron's report was circulated far beyond military channels. Scientists studied it. Diplomats argued over it. Philosophers debated it. One conclusion became clear. Humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy was not strength. It was choice under pressure. As Aaron prepared to board the ship, Sorella spoke again. "My people once believed survival meant removing all uncertainty," she said. "You showed us that survival sometimes means accepting it." "You did the hard part," Aaron replied. "You acted on it." Soraya stepped closer. "Others will test us. They will look for weakness." Aaron met her gaze. "They'll find mistakes." "That's not weakness." She nodded slowly. "That answer sounds very human." They exchanged a brief gesture of respect. No ceremony. No promises. The ship lifted smoothly, rising into the sky. Aaron watched Varex 9 grow smaller, its surface no longer a symbol of perfect order, but of something better. A living world. During the journey back to Earth, Aaron reviewed incoming messages. Requests for consultation. Invitations to speak. Quiet warnings from intelligence divisions. Human adaptability had become a topic of interest everywhere. Not everyone welcomed it. Some powers began reinforcing borders. Others tried copying human systems without understanding them, creating unstable results. A few even attempted forced experiments, seeking shortcuts. Those efforts failed. Adaptability without choice became rigidity under another name. Months later, a formal galactic council convened to address rising tensions. Representatives from dozens of species attended. Humans were no longer observers. They were expected to speak. Aaron was invited as a witness, not a leader. When asked to explain what happened on Varex 9, he did not talk about genetics. He talked about mistakes. He talked about failure as feedback. He talked about how humans survived because they allowed disagreement, allowed change, allowed imperfection. Some species listened with interest, others with fear. After the session, an elder from a distant civilization approached him. Your people are dangerous, the elder said calmly. Aaron did not disagree. So is stagnation. The elder considered that and walked away without another word. Years passed. Varix 9 became a case study. Not a model to copy exactly, but an example of transition. Other colonies across the galaxy began experimenting cautiously with adaptive governance. Some succeeded. Some failed. Those that succeeded shared one trait. They accepted uncertainty instead of fighting it. Sorella eventually stepped down from her role, something Novarek's matriarch had done voluntarily before. She became an advisor instead, guiding without controlling. Soraya took leadership not as a reformer, but as a bridge between old and new. Under her guidance, the Varex expanded beyond their controlled worlds. Cautiously exploring harsher environments once thought too unstable, they did not dominate. They endured. Aaron returned to service, but his career path changed. He was no longer sent to front lines or negotiations that relied on power. He was sent where systems were failing quietly, where perfection was cracking under reality. He never carried authority, only perspective. In time, stories spread through informal channels. Tales of a human officer whose DNA was desired but never taken. A human who refused to become a resource. Those stories changed something subtle but important. Humans were no longer seen as weapons or prizes. They were seen as partners in uncertainty. One final message reached Aaron years later. It came from Varix 9. A simple update. The colony had completed its first fully independent adaptive generation. Not genetically altered, but culturally transformed. Decision cycles were faster. Crisis response improved. Innovation increased. At the end of the message, Soraya had added a personal note. We did not need your blood to survive. We needed your example. Aaron closed the message and looked out at the stars. Humanity had once feared that the galaxy would change them. Instead, the galaxy was learning what humans had always known, often the hard way. Survival was not about being perfect. It was about being willing to change. And that lesson, once shared, could not be taken back. Somewhere out there, civilizations were choosing their futures. And humanity, quietly and without conquest, had become part of how the galaxy learned to live.